Hello, 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 and welcome to my official book study. Never mind the stuff in the background. Um, that's my office. Normally, I'm not sitting down, so you all don't see it. But man, y'all, it's hot in Texas. It is it's hot. I've been drinking some ice water. This is my grandson's cup. And it's hot, but thank you for those of you all who are watching this live and participating. Let me look on Facebook right quick to make sure, as the kids say, everything is everything, because I don't want to get started and yeah, and it's not working. So yeah, I see it. I don't know why this says equations 101. That is not what that says. It's supposed to say, I don't know, technology. I guess they're having some problems with Restream. What is this? Mind the Gap book study. So there we go. Changing that up. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I see everything is working. Let me see if it's shared. Show attachment. Let me see if make sure it's in my Facebook group. And we're going to get started on chapters 1 and 2. I really, really like this book. Like, I'm crushing on this book because it's great. Let me change this and edit it, because this is not what that is supposed to say. Wow. So let me change that profile out and we're going to get started right quick. So there we are. So I've turned things down. Normally my back of my room office is lit up, but man, it's hot and like it's over. We've had I think this is the third 100-degree weather day. Like, it is ridiculously high. It's ridiculous. So I have turned everything down. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started, because everything is ready to go. So let me move to the book. This is the book that I've been reading. And I know for my secondary folks, you're probably saying, well, why are we not doing secondary? Well, there is a 6 through 8 book, and I am going to get through that. But what I need for you all to understand is that this book is, mathematics it encompasses the K through 2, 3 through 5 band. So if you don't understand the math at the lower level, you really can't understand or teach or close gaps at the secondary level. And I'm not saying you have to become a, what's the word I'm looking for? A expert in K through 2 and you teach algebra, but it's good to know how to bring those concepts down. That's what is good. So I'm going to go ahead and give a synopsis or my take on the book. I really like this book. Chapters 1 and 2 focuses on actual math tasks, and I really enjoyed, and I'm going to go ahead and move it along. So it gives, I like the layout because it gives like the book at a glance and how it's laid out. It's a really easy read. And I like that it gave real life examples from the classroom. And it really talked about misconceptions. So here's our content. So for chapter 1, it talks about rich mathematics tasks, student misconceptions, and using tasks. So I'm going to move ahead and go to chapter 1 if you're following along. And I highlighted some stuff because I'm a Kindle person, because I can't purchase any more books because my garage is full of books. And this thing is getting smaller as I make it bigger. So, yeah. So right here, they talk about the quality of mathematics. And I 100% agree with this. It says the quality of our mathematics test directly affects the learning of our students. And he quotes it from Stein and Lane, 1996. For years, there has been a belief that quantity of mathematics trumps the quality of mathematics. And so it was likely believed that a practice sheet with 20 or more problems was a more effective way to learn mathematics than 1 or 2 high quality math prompts. And I do. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and kind of split hairs. There's this, people talk about fluency, and I think kids have to have some fluency practice, but I don't think it's like the Mad Minute that we used to have, and I don't think it's just rote mathematics problems. I think if we do things in context, kids actually pick up that fluency that they need. But here I do believe that he's talking more so about understanding concepts and context. And I'm going to move on and say why I believe that. So he gives the tools and rubrics for identifying mathematics tasks. These tools usually identify the high quality math tasks. But at the bottom, he talks about the last bullet. High quality math tasks are problem based, authentic, or interesting. So when he talked about that, it led me to believe that project-based learning, and I'm not saying that project-based learning in its current form is an accessible tool for educators that teach the demographic of kids like myself. So for me, I feel like if you did a 2-week project, you've planned out all the activities, and give some high quality mathematics tasks within the actual unit. So that's what I believe he's talking about. Maybe not necessarily fluency in the context, 1 or 2. Because I know some of you K-2 teachers is like, well, how are we supposed to get the kids to learn their facts? I don't think that's what the intent was. So because we're just starting out, I'm going to talk about his definition of what a high quality math task is. It aligns to mathematics content standards. I am teaching, encourages my students to use representations, provides my students with an opportunity to communicate their reasoning, has multiple entry points, allows for different strategies for finding solutions. If you are providing your students with one solution problems, that's giving the kids or sending the message that there's only one way to solve a problem. And I taught algebra this past year, and that is not the case. So one of the things that my students struggled with last year was that they struggled with the idea that they had to figure out how best to solve an equation or a multi-step equation, because they're no longer is the teacher said, well, you have to start here. So when I started telling my students that, well, you have to figure out what's best for you. You can start here, you can start here. That's why it's important in K through 2 to understand that multiple entry points, different strategies is important in that algebra strand, because there is no one way to solve a problem in Algebra 1. There is, like, for example, with slope. If you're an 8th grade math teacher or 7th grade math teacher, we talk about rate of change and slope. The student expectation for rate of change and slope is to understand that it can be found in a table, a graph, or you can do points. So it goes back to what he's saying, allows for different strategies for finding solutions. And kids have to be able to understand that I can find rate of change depending on what stimuli they give me. The stimuli could be a graph, so you can derive 2 points from that and use the slope formula. So there are different things that I see in here, because I've taught elementary and I've taught secondary, and I know why these things are important. So if you're an elementary teacher and you're listening to this, know that when you do these things, you're setting your kids up for success. The next one is makes connections between mathematical concepts, between concepts and procedures, and between concepts, procedures, and application. Props cognitive effort. Cognitive means thinking, rigorous. And the last one is problem-based or authentic or interesting. I really like that he talked about the hazards of low-level tasks. Low-level tasks are typically grounded in recall. If you have your students just recalling information and there's no opportunity for discussion, that is automatically a low-level task. And what you have to do, say for instance, we can change low-level tasks to make them be more mathematically rich, where it meets what a high-quality math task is. And the lack of these characteristics that engage students in reasoning about mathematical ideas, they don't provide opportunity for a discussion, what I just said, and these mathematical tasks present mathematics concepts in isolated fashion. So that's the hazard, and that's why when kids get on standardized tests, they don't do well at all. They don't, because students have not had the opportunity of the cognitive rigor that is needed to analyze, synthesize, and break down or create problems that challenge them at the rigor of their expectation. So let's go back here. It was another part I did like this. This was really good. It says using tasks instructionally. And I'm a diagram person. I like pictures. And I'll be honest with you, I don't buy books that don't have some type of illustration in it. So it says use quality tasks for instruction. From selections to implementation must be intentional. An effective way to implement these tasks is through 3 stages. You launch it, you engage, and you debrief. So during the first stage, we set the context of the problem, revisit the skill or concepts that the students might use with the task, and convey our expectations for quality work and collaboration. So that means you're going to have a rubric. So in the second stage, the students engage collaboratively with their partners or small group to exchange ideas. So if you're not creating an environment, there's this book called Intentional Talk that I really, really love. And I can't wait to try some of his tasks because we're implementing project-based learning next year. I can't wait to implement some of this. It has structure. So if you're one of those teachers that can't really understand, like, okay, what are we going to do with this? I don't really know how to get the kids started with the discussion. This is really, really good for that. The second stage, they engage and then you debrief. And he talks about the debrief, highlight, make note of the work that we want to highlight during the debrief. At this time, we must begin to think about sequence of student sharing. We can give students numbers, written or sticky notes to organize the sequence. During the third stage, we facilitate, discuss, or gallery walk. So in the day and age of technology, a gallery walk, you can put that on a Google slide. You can have the kids take pictures, or you can take pictures and have the kids have it in a slideshow. So if you have a kid, a group that does not do well with movement, this is another alternative that you can use, especially if you're in intervention and you are trying or you're working with math tasks and you want to look and discuss other people's work. So the last part is independent student work, partners discuss, and then group shares and charts. So I really like that breakdown. Let's see. So the first chapter is just really setting the tone and the foundation of the expectation of what a math task is. Now, I like at the end of the book chapter, it has reflection questions. I'm a big person on reflection because we don't have enough time to reflect. So I really appreciate him having questions at the end for teachers to actually reflect on. How do I typically find and select mathematics tasks? Some of us don't use tasks. So hopefully that question will prompt you to be like, oh, I need to use some tasks in my classroom. Chapter 2 it talks about counting and representation. And I really like this because it gives you examples of math tasks. I really like it. So the first one, it was about the counting on from any number. Now, you might think if you're a upper grades teacher that is a hard concept. I mean, an easy concept. Why would they struggle with that? I had fifth graders that struggled with counting on from a number because counting on helps with adding or adding, counting backwards. Because some kids, they have to start with the number 1 and then count. And that's the counting all principle. But counting on meaning that I have this number and then I'm going to count on. So I have 5 and then I have 5 more and I count on for 5, 6. I had fifth graders who literally could not do that. So it seems trivial, but it's really not. A lot of our kids that struggle are in math intervention. That's a misconception. Now, for me, I think that a lot of our students struggle with it because there's not a lot of practice and exposure to rich math tasks like this. So here's an example of something, one of the tasks that was completed. So write the missing numbers in the dark boxes on the chart. So you see student work 1. And then I really like how he promotes analyzing student work. A lot of teachers say, oh, well, I did an exit ticket. I don't like exit tickets. I think it is, I'm not saying, I don't think they're effective. I don't, that's my opinion, and some people may not agree with me, but I don't think they're effective. I think analyzing student work and really looking at what children do is effective, because like he said, student 3, what they did, and using evidence. What would we want to ask these students? What might we do next? So it helps you to adjust your instruction. And I think looking at kids' work, and a lot of times I know for secondary, we generally don't do that because we have large classes. We do, but I think if, like when I was a master teacher in the TAP program, if you put your kids, like if you know your students, you do high, medium, and low, and look at qualities for high students, medium, and your low students. And I know some of y'all are going to cringe at that terminology, but that's all I got. And that's it. So high, medium, and low. Generally, your high students all have the same quality. Your kids that are those bell curve kids that are your old average, they tend to have the same qualities. And then those kids that struggle at the bottom of the curve, those are your kids who tend to have the same strategy. So if you are a class that has a lot of children, because last year I had 120 kids on my roster. So if you're in secondary, grab those up. If you're a 5th grade teacher that is looking at this and you have kids, put them high, medium, and low, and look at them from that lens instead of a one-to-one lens. Look at them as a group. So here's some other ones. And he's really looking at the misconceptions of these students, but a lot of the kids couldn't count on. Look at student work number 3. A lot of empty boxes. So this one, and this is where I'm going to end at, is talking about a number line. Now, I'm a huge fan of number lines. You can call them number paths. You can call them whatever you want to call it. It's still a number line. It's on a line. It's in a straight line. Same thing. Number lines really should be used 1st grade on, because number lines, if you haven't taught and you're in K through 2, number lines are still used up to 8th grade because we put rational numbers on a number line. 4th and 5th grade put decimals and fractions on the number line. That starts in 3rd grade. So if kids are not working with number lines and you're not using tasks like this, they're going to have misconceptions in the concepts of understanding where placement is for like fractions and decimals. That's why a lot of our students don't do well with measurement models, because they don't see those linear models often. We generally, especially with fractions, we generally deal with the circular models, the area model, the strip diagram, bar model. Those models we tend to actually look at. But you have to give your kids some measurement models. In K through 2, like he's saying, counting on a number line, super important, because you're laying the foundation of positioning on a line. So about this task, he said our students can use number lines to count as well. So on the pause and reflect, which I can appreciate, is how does this task compare to tasks I've used? What might my students do in this task? So we're going to look. This helps with rounding. If you are a K through 2 teacher, we also round on number lines. A lot of teachers have to multiply and divide on number lines. This lays the foundation. So when we have kids that are having misconceptions in that third, fourth, fifth, where they're having to use number lines, it comes from not using number lines in that K through 2 band, number paths, whatever you want to call it. But if you're an interventionist and you know the kids are struggling with rounding and really not understanding where positioning is, 950, the halfway mark, it goes back to a number line issue. It goes back to that issue. So I'm going to stop right there. And hopefully, if you haven't purchased this book, I really like this book. Even for me as an 8th grade teacher, I can take some of these K through 2 concepts and really like adjust them and make them doable for my 8th grade students, because we use number lines in 8th grade. We have to use, we approximate square roots. But a lot of my kids struggle with, where does the estimate for square root go? They don't know positioning on the number line, and it goes right back to that K through 2 strand of using a number line. So hopefully you all enjoyed this. I'm at 30 minutes and I said I wasn't going to go over this. If you have any comments or you want to talk about this further on my Facebook page, leave a comment in the comments section and I'll hop right on it. So y'all have a good evening and tell me, what do you think about this book? If you're on a replay, tell me. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Bye-bye.